I'm trustee, one of the original trustees of the charity, of FreeBMD, which was the first project that started. FreeBMD had its 20th anniversary last year. FreeReg and FreeCen are having their 20th anniversary this year. The project, I was one of the original trustees with Ben Laurie and Camilla von Massenbach, and we started the project off 20 years ago with an idea that has spawned into what we have today, which is a nice situation. The early days were very hard. We had a project, we were trying to get stuff done. There weren't very many of us. It was a lot of hard work getting things done, but we've had volunteers who've just been so committed to what we're trying to do that we've ended up where we are through massive numbers of good, high-quality volunteers. With FreeBMD, we got it started along the same time, or the following year. Two people started FreeReg and FreeCen. Rob Leap started FreeReg, and Mike Lurwell, I think, get the name right. Mike Lurwell, I think, started FreeCen, and they were sister projects, if you like, but not under our umbrella at all, but very separate projects in terms of what they were doing. In the end of the 90s into the early 2000s, we decided that we wanted to prove to people that we were not making profits from it, that we were doing it as a charity and we were doing it free. So we formed the charity deliberately to say, we're really not making money out of this, because there were a lot of people coming in saying, you're gathering this data, you're going to sell it all to everyone else and make lots of money. We formed the charity to say, no, we're not going to do it. It then became, FreeReg and FreeCen then asked to join the same charity, so Free UK Genealogy was born as a parent to the all three projects. In those days, they were still very separate. They were still very separate, and everyone was still what you call amateur, if you like. No one was paid. We were all just keeping the project going. Now, 20 years on, we have a staff of people who are paid. We have Pat, we have Denise, we have the programmers, we have people who can do it, which we needed to do, because what we were finding was that we couldn't rely on anyone's time. So I've got a full-time job. We couldn't rely on me being able to actually do some work or to be able to do some programming, or Ben or whoever just didn't have the time to do the programming. So we were in a position where we were maintaining a system but not really developing it because we didn't have the time to do it. Having paid people means that they're committed to doing it. We've got resource, we can plan ahead and we can decide what we're going to do. So the project has changed. The biggest change in the project has been the professionalism of the project now, that it is a formal charity. We just had a trustee meeting with 8 or 9 trustees in there with skills across the board, from legal to accounting to whatever, different skills and things. So it's a very good formal charity now. But we still hold on to the feeling of giving data free. That's the whole idea, is this data, we're genealogists, let's transcribe it. Rather than store our transcriptions ourselves and keep them ourselves, let's basically put them all in a pot and then everyone can access them. So it's the free thing of data. We still very much, that's still very much the key driver behind the projects. In terms of the future and where we're going with the future, the big change is open data. So for us, it's open data. So what we're doing with all of the sites eventually will be to allow an API into the system to allow people to get the data and then do what they want with the data. So at the moment, again, we have our developers and we're able to develop our system. So an example of how you might use open data is if someone wanted to do a map of a surname throughout the years as to where that surname was located throughout the years. You can do it. You could search for the surname on FreeBMD, get the registrations and stick them into a map and show a map. So someone might offer a service that says, I see how your surname varied across the UK, or across England and Wales in that case, over the years. Now we're not doing that because again, it's a question of we want to get the transcription done and everything else. But there's no reason why someone else doesn't do that. And if they did it, they should, if they want to, they should be able to charge for it. They should be able to do all the like. So what we would look at doing is having open data. So we have an API to allow them to come in and allow people to come in and make better use of the data, which means that the people who are transcribing it, their data is actually being used in far more imaginative ways. If someone comes out with a way that everyone likes and wants to make money out of it, that's their responsibility. We will still have the data on our site available free. So the data is still there available free, but we're saying that people can have the stuff out. That's the biggest the biggest future change, if you like, is trying to work out how we do that. We have issues with our income as a charity is all from our web advertising. So if the more people start to have the data elsewhere, the less hits we get, therefore the less money we get supporting it. So we have to work out how we keep an income going to keep the charity going, which we've been discussing for a long time. But that's probably our biggest move. Then at the moment we have new websites coming in, so FreeReg and FreeSend both have a new website. FreeBMD is going to have a new website, it's almost ready, that's under test, so when that comes in, that enables us to do a lot more stuff as well. But yeah, that's the main thing. We have a project to transcribe the probate records as well, so free probate will come out at some point. Again, it's a question of us having the time to deal with that. We don't want to make the mistake of biting off more than we can chew, so we take our time getting there. But yeah, as a project, it's very healthy. It's very good. We still have transcribers that are transcribing. I'm not sure it's 1 million records a month now, probably, but it's between 500,000 and 1 million records every month going into the system. And it amazes me that around the world, people are doing that. They're sitting there, just normal people at their desks, putting in. It used to be 1 million a month, and it just used to amaze me that we enabled it. And I think it's them that do the hard work, and we. One of the things we always want to emphasise to them is that whilst we will go with open data, and some people may use the data to charge if they want to, it will still be free. And what we're trying to do is make the most of their work. They're putting the stuff in there, they're putting it into the database, people are searching for it, but if we can enable people with big ideas to actually use that data in other ways, then the effort they're putting in is actually being used, whether it might be educational establishments or something like that, or it could be commercial establishments, whatever it happens to be. The data's being used for different things, so we've got this massive resource, we should be using it. That's where I see the project is going.
I'm Eric Dickens, born in 1938. I have a grandfather who was born in 1865, but since then been through the computer business, and I joined FreeReg in 2003. The reason for it was my relatives lived in Somerset, so I decided that I wanted to research that, and as a result I then became the coordinator for Somerset. At that time, FreeReg had only been going in fact the whole project had only been going about 3 years. We had roughly 10 million records on the FreeReg side, and just to explain the 3 projects, there's Free UK Genealogy, which is the main arching organisation. FreeReg is parish registers, but it actually started with Free BMD, which is birth, marriages and deaths, and that was transcribing the GRO, General Record Office, indexes, and that's pretty well been done now. There's a lot of that's done. We've now added FreeSend, which is the census. We've done a lot of the census as well, but I've only been involved with the FreeReg side of it, the parish registers. When I joined in 2003, when I came up for retirement, I thought a good sort of hobby to get started in. Soon got roped in the detail, as one does. And then, so I was coordinator for Somerset, because I was looking into my relatives. Very interesting, because my relatives actually were illiterate mariners, and they actually ran the ferry that crossed the River Avon. And this is where the interesting bit comes, because once you go before 1837, when births, marriages and deaths were registered, all you've got is the parish registers. And some of them are very difficult. And since my relatives were illiterate, I know that because they just signed with an X. They didn't know how to spell their name Dickens. So I came across it, and again, this is part of working for FreeReg, came across a Diggins, because being Broad Somerset, they say, what's your name? Your name be Diggins, you see? So Diggins. That's how it goes in the register. He doesn't know how it's done. Anyway, coming back to FreeReg, we've been developing the project now all that time, and it's got better and better. We've got a new version of it. And one of the things we have is we've got Soundex in it, and it should pick up the fact that Diggins and Dickens sound the same. So you click the Soundex button, and that will open up another whole world for you. And we've been doing an awful lot of work that way. A little bit more about how it works too is Ancestry and Family Search have done a lot of it. but the quality of their transcribing is pretty poor because it's been done in America. I mean, some of the place spellings are quite unbelievable. Our transcribers spend a lot of time and a lot of detail actually going into the research of it. And a lot of the old parish registers, which I'll be showing in my talk a little later, they're in Latin. Some are hardly readable. Some it takes a day or so almost doing one entry. So it's a long, long, slow process, but no one else is doing it. And there are also, well, it gets into a lot of difficulty as far as copyright and things are concerned, but there are a lot of parishes where nothing has been transcribed yet. The parish registers are the property of the incumbent priest. And if they don't give permission for them to be held at the county records office or for Ancestry to photograph them or anything else, they hold them in their parish chest, no one else sees them. And we're trying to get hold of these and work with the parishes to see if we can transcribe them, because most parishes have now got a website. They've actually got people there who've been doing the transcribing as well. So, you know, there's a lot of information out there. We're free, as the name implies. We think this is important because when you're researching, if you start buying certificates and things, well, you can't buy certificates, you've got to buy copies of parish registers. The chances of getting what you want are very, very slim. So it's far better that we do it for free for you, and we therefore rely on advertising and support to do it. So you then ask the question of the way forward. Where do we go from here? We've been 20 years now. Free Reg is now up to 46 million entries. Free BMD, I think, is over 200 million. I've worked it out that we've got about another 150 million to go of parish registers, assuming we get access to them all and we can do it. At our current rate, that'll take me about another 100 years to do. So we're desperately looking for more transcribers. We've got the images. For example, we've got the burial records from Manchester Public Cemetery. It has 1 million entries. There are actually 1 million people buried there. And we're slogging our way through trying to transcribe it. This is not in any other database. So, we're getting on to do it, see what we can do. So today's conference, one of the things we want to find out is to see whether we can work out what is most important and where we're going to go from here. But we've still got a lot of development to do, mainly to make it a bit more friendly. But the most important thing, I think, is that researchers will be able to ask, for instance, when a particular parish has had more entries done, they can then say that's it, and we'll send them an email and say, right, where you're looking for has now had some more entries, or there's been some changes, or we've now got the information that we didn't have before. So we're trying to work closer with the researchers. At the moment, we've no idea who the researchers are. We get something like between 12 and 15,000 searches a day. We add about 4,000 or 5,000 new entries a day. So the whole thing's growing. But we need to work much more on the relationship. And this is where, coming to the press, we're very keen for people to volunteer. www.freereg.org.uk. Just go there, click on transcribe, and then you can volunteer. And there's a whole load of help pages there, tells you what it's all about, and see where you go from there. The other projects are developing. There's Free Send is looking for people as well, that's the census. And we're thinking about a free will as well. It's a whole database of wills, but that's a long way in the future. But all the three projects all operate on the same basis. A very simple homepage, very simple entry. It's not all cluttered. It's not trying to sell you anything or anything else like that. Totally free and easy to do. You can do it on the beach if you want to, on a laptop. It's not a problem. So that's where we're going.